especially last week with all that flooding and stuff. I was
Oh,
out in the rain
I bet
all
you were
day.
everywhere.
I
Oh.
looked back at my stuff on, I think it was like Tuesday. I was like, oh, I look like that.
Hey.
I was like, this is terrible. But no, it's fine. All right, so we are all good.
Okay.
Can you,
Sure.
just like I was telling her, so you can look at me the whole
All right.
time, ignore the camera, it's a conversation.
All right.
Can you say and spell your name for me?
Sure. Jim White, Jimwhite.
Okay, and you are superintendent.
Superintendent of Bremen Public Schools.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. I guess, can you first, kind of like what I was talking about with Rhonda, I mean, what's your reaction when you turn on the news and see another school shooting that's happened?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. But it's also getting to the point of just being background noise too. It happens so frequently. You listen, you see Las Vegas. We had church shootings after that, I believe. And then we had the Orlando nightclub shooting, and then we had what happened in Florida again. And it's just heartbreaking. But you have to try to, when you hear that, you can't help but put yourself in those people's situation and think, what if it were our school? What would we do? How horrible that would be for our community and our students.
I guess you kind of transition into my next question. And what, if this were to happen at Bremen, what is in place? What have you guys talked about? What's your procedure? I don't know
Sure.
if you can talk about that.
Sure. Some of it we can't. It's not technically classified, but our school response, our plans, we don't want to advertise too much. But I do have to say, we do practice, the emergency response drills. We have safe shooter drills that we do, or safe shooter. We have the, help me out, Rhonda. Thank you. Active shooter drills that we do with our teachers, and we also have done at the high school with our students. And what we're trying to do is teach resistance and good sense. Barricade yourself in, but also if a shooter makes their way in, you're going to resist. You want to throw things at them. You want to be a hard target. And we're working hard. We still have a lot of work to do on the facilities. Our buildings were built. This one was an old WPA building, so it's been around a long time. It was built long before anyone ever thought about using a gun for a bad thing, at least in a school. And so we're still working on fortifying, as it seems to be the big word these days, but just making it difficult for people to gain easy access. I think the idea that a school would ever be 100% safe from someone that's heavily armed from making it in, I'm not sure that that's a goal that any school could truly accomplish, given the nature of our missions.
I don't know if I just saw this when I was driving in, but do you guys have police presence on the school or some sort of on guard?
We do not. What we do have is our Bremen Police Department. They are just about 3 minutes away, and that's even if they walk slowly. So they're very responsive. They're good partners with us. They do walk through several times a week, randomly whenever the officers have time, and I often see them when they're walking the halls, and I appreciate their presence. We're fortunate. We have a nice, sleepy community, but we also want to be vigilant because I think many of these communities felt the same where a school shooting transpired.
Okay. You bring up kind of another point. Bremen, it's a small town. It's not like South Bend schools where it's this huge corporation. There are thousands of students. Bremen. What's your average graduated class? I guess what's the average class size?
Sure. Our average class size here in the elementary, anywhere from 20 to 25. It's a little higher. Gets up in the high 20s if you're talking middle school. In our high schools, we graduate roughly 120 a year. Sometimes it ebbs and flows, goes up and down a little bit. But I think really, whether you're South Bend, whether you're Mishawaka, Penn Harris, or a little Bremen, once you're in the school, they're really the same environments. You have teachers teaching, you have students in classrooms, and we're all facing the same issues.
Okay. Because you guys, something I guess I've just noticed in watching national coverage where other local TV stations tackle the same subject is they've spoken to these rural area school districts, these smaller school districts, and some concerns that teachers have brought up is, yeah, we don't want guns in our classrooms, but we're a rural area. Police can't always get there in time. I'd rather be able to be as proactive as I can, whereas, like I was mentioning South Bend, right. They have police right there. I guess, can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I grew up in an incredibly rural area in southeastern Kansas. My graduating class there was 18, And we faced those challenges. The local sheriff's office was in Erie, Kansas, which was a 30-minute drive. And so had we had an emergency, there was not going to be a response time soon. And while that was way back in the Stone Ages, as my daughters would probably say, from my age, it's still a reality for many schools, whether in Indiana or other states. And so that is a challenge, and that's where their response plans are going to be different. We're very blessed and fortunate to have Bremen Police Department just on Center Street. They are, again, a great partner, and that saves us from the need for at least the immediate need for a school resource officer on campus, because they do such a good job with us. I could see from other schools, their needs are different, and so absolutely, it can be a very challenge depending on your location. Sorry, I'm trying not to watch you and you do.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I feel like a dummy. I completely forgot to balance my camera.
Hey, that's all right. We can always reshoot. You'll never get the same answer twice from me,
No,
though.
no, you're fine. I can fix it when I'm editing it, but.
But you're like, that's done. Let's fix it now.
Yeah, I wanna. All right. I guess one of my few final questions. Obviously, Rhonda is not for the idea of having to keep a gun in her classroom. I guess for the but there are some teachers who do like
Sure,
the idea.
certainly.
I guess if a teacher comes to Bremen, say a few years. Let me reword this. I guess say something at the national level happens, and they say, okay, teachers need to be armed. If a teacher doesn't feel comfortable with that, or say a teacher comes to you and says, hey, I want to be armed, I guess, what would the school's response be? Would
Sure.
you guys allow that?
Sure. Well, I think, for one thing, we're several steps away from that question. However, I think our schools and our boards and the people that you ask, the educators you ask, we're all representative of society. And so individual answers are going to vary depending on, your background, your experience, and your philosophies. I can tell you that my board of school trustees, I have some that are constitutional carry guys. They don't want to, don't want you to pay for a permit, and I have others who would be very anti-gun. And so I can't speak for the board of school trustees where they would fall, but I think if it's something at the national level happened, then subsequently the state, and then it fell to the locals, that'd be the conversation we would have at the time. I think I would never, ever ask a teacher who had any kind of reservation about having a firearm. I think that would be just a recipe for disaster. For me personally, I would prefer not to have firearms in school. However, if my board said, Dr. White, we need to have them, then I would probably volunteer because I would take the responsibility. I don't want to push that down to someone else. However, I hope we don't get to that point. I hope we can work on the underlying problems. Let's work on getting funding for mental health therapists back in our schools. We had to cut that last year because of budget concerns. I needed more, not fewer. We have so many students coming to us with emotional baggage. And not to pile on another bandwagon, but I think social media amplifies the issues that these students are having because they never get away from the people who are bullying, harassing, or just the problem because for one reason or another, they're unable to let go of those phones. And so they live these issues all day long, day, night, and it's no wonder that some of them snap and then react as they do. And it's unfortunate that we can't focus our efforts on ending that and the underlying reasons, and so students can grow up to be working adults and have good lives and not preparing for if the child snaps and comes back and tries to shoot us.
Notes here. I guess something that a lot of teachers I've spoken to have been vocal about is they do think they're like, okay, we really think this mental health issue. I mean, you mentioned that
Sure.
you had to cut was it guidance counselor?
We had a mental health therapist full time.
I mean, how can schools be able to address those issues though if they're facing budget cuts and they don't have the funding for that?
Right. I mean, it's literally a rob Peter to pay Paul scenario. I mean, in our situation, we have a growing special ed population, and so we had to, in the mental health therapist position, to help augment the staff to serve the special needs students. It really comes back to funding and support. And I think one of your earlier questions was talking about what could the state or someone do, the government do. Really, first they need to stop bashing public education in some respects. They need to support us. And I understand, money gets tight. That's okay, but if you can give us money, we appreciate it. But also I think what many of our teachers would appreciate is just an acknowledgement that they are working very hard day in and day out for the betterment of our society. I mean, that is the role of public education, for an educated populace, for a better society. We're not here to put a certain political agenda in place or to sway minds and to be more liberal or more conservative. We're here so the students are well educated and that hopefully they can make their own decisions.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is, you know, it is about the students. And
It really is.
it can get lost very easily in, you know, these conversations we're having at the national level. I guess, anything else you would like to add that you don't think I asked?
You know, I think you ask a lot of good questions. Again, I think I would echo what Mrs. McIntyre said, that I personally do not think more guns are the answer. I think that's kind of an extreme position to take. I think it's a popular position for some people because if you just look at the surface, it might make sense. But I think the issues that can arise from that are beyond what we need. I think we just need to focus on the underlying issues of why people are trying to shoot one another and not having more firepower to do it.